Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Pointless Top 10, a show where we make top 10 lists of pointless things, where we fly by pointless statue in Booty Bay, because inside pointless things are treasure. Let's begin. 10. Number 10 is the Golden Fleet, which is the name given to the collective naval force of the ships of the Zandalari Empire. And I just think these ships are really cool, right? They've got the big dinosaur figureheads on the front of the ship, and they got these big tusk-like features on the side of the ship that I guess help them float. I actually don't really know what those are for. I tried to look it up, but I couldn't really find anything, so let me know down in the comments if you know what those are for on ships. And then there's just a lot of really cool features on the ship as well. Like, I love the way the steering wheel looks, and there's a lot of paneling that looks very much like scales of dinosaurs or something like that. Then they have these ballistas on the ship as well that have these dinosaur heads where the arrows shoot out of them, which is awesome. But yeah, this is one of those things where going back to Battle for Azeroth, I always love seeing these ships. They were always really cool. Just the art direction they took with them, the style, you know, all the little details everywhere. You can see just the amount of effort that's went into every little part of these ships. And I think it's just phenomenal. And so for all those reasons, that's why the Golden Fleet is number 10. 9. Number 9 are the pirate ships located in the Stranglethorn Vale, as well as the Booty Bay boat or ship located in Booty Bay that goes from Booty Bay to Ratchet. And I always call it the Booty Bay boat, but it is more of a ship, so I should be saying the Booty Bay ship, which honestly prompts a great time to talk about what's a boat versus what's a ship. So the biggest difference I can see is that ships are usually larger, and ships are used for long distance travel or sailing across things like the ocean, while boats are usually smaller, suited for more things like rivers or lakes or going fishing on the coast or something like that. But we also have things like spaceships or airships, these really big ships meant for long distance travel, which honestly, I think that's the biggest thing, is a ship is meant for a big voyage, and I heard that a boat can fit on a ship, but a ship cannot fit on a boat. And I actually think that's a great way to differentiate between the two. But anyway, back to the ships here. I love these pirate ships. I love the red and black sails. I love the metal framing around the ship. I think that's really cool. I like they have the planks you can walk up here. I even like they have this little boat with a target dummy on it for shooting cannons at for a quest. That's really fun. And then the Booty Bay ship is just a classic nostalgic ship that everybody's taken at some point in their World of Warcraft playing days. And I think the interior of the ships are actually very similar. So that's one of the reasons I also decided to combine them, and I think a lot of the structural parts of these ships are very similar as well. So either way, that's why the pirate ships and the Booty Bay ship are number 9. 8. Number 8 are the Zeppelins in World of Warcraft, and Zeppelins are indeed a type of ship. It says here on Wikipedia that Zeppelins are a type of rigid airship that were actually invented by Ferdinand von Zeppelin, who pioneered rigid airship development at the beginning of the 20th century. Meanwhile, in World of Warcraft, Zeppelins were invented by goblins using a lighter-than-air design, with their machines employing bags filled with gas to make them buoyant in the air. A goblin Zeppelin consists of a gondola of varying size suspended beneath one or more bags of lightweight gas that serve to keep the craft aloft. And while making this video, I noticed some cool stuff about the Zeppelin, one of which is that the under part of the Zeppelin is actually made out of Kodo skin. I never actually noticed that, but if you look at the under part of the Zeppelin, it's Kodo skin. Also on the sails of the Zeppelin, there's actually a picture of a pineapple. Also, Frezza, the Zeppelin master, prohibits smoking and fire magic while on the Zeppelins. There's also the Shark Zeppelin, which I always thought was really cool. I believe it was introduced in Wrath of the Lich King, but you can see the eye is like stitched on and all the teeth are stitched on. I just always like the little details on it. But yeah, I really wanted to put Zeppelins on this list because they're definitely one of the most notable ships in World of Warcraft. Like, everybody's been on a Zeppelin that's played WoW, especially if you play Horde. You know, I always remember waiting for the Zeppelins back in the day, and it was always just like a fun little experience, because like, ooh, you get to go on this like crazy airship and go to a different world or a different area, and it was just really unique. And so that's why the Zeppelins in WoW are number 8. 7. Number 7 are the Iron Horde Dreadnoughts, and the Dreadnoughts are also known as Juggernauts or Drudge Boats, and they are large armored battleships equipped with heavy cannons, located primarily in Draenor. And the one that I'm showing off here is specifically in Talador, right next to Shattrath. And I'm not really the biggest fan of all the Iron Horde stuff, but honestly, I think this ship looks really cool. It's got all the spikes on the front, the cannons have spikes on them, it's got the massive cannon in the center. It just looks really cool. And it says here that the Dreadnoughts, as well as the Iron Docks, were designed by Solog Roark, an engineering prodigy, after his deflection, and carriers looking very similar to modified dreadnoughts started appearing in the Alliance and Horde fleets of Draenor, indicating that the shipwright also had a hand in creating their design. And speaking of the aircraft carriers, I couldn't actually find any in game. I'll put a picture up on the screen so you can at least see what one looks like, but They're pretty much this exact same boat, but with a little ramp for the planes or whatever it might be to go off of them. And those are really cool too. And so yeah, overall, I'm not a big fan of the Iron Horde stuff, but I am a fan of their ships. And so that's why the Dreadnoughts and Carriers are number 7. 6. Number 6 are the Horde and Alliance gunships, specifically the Alliance Skybreaker gunship and then the Horde's Orgrim's Hammer gunship. And you can find both of them near the Icecrown Citadel in Icecrown, or you can find the Horde one in the Jade Forest attacking the Alliance. And personally, between the two, I think I like the Horde one a bit more, and the only reason I say that is I love that it's like a wolf with a cannon for a mouth. I just thought that was always really cool. Like the Alliance Griffin with the wings is pretty neat, but it's got a cannon for a mouth on the Horde side, all right? I also love how the Horde one just has 2 giant Zeppelins attached to it, keeping it afloat. Like, that's just prime Goblin engineering right there. Meanwhile, the gnomish engineering of the Alliance gunship tends to be more compact and incorporate a larger amount of technology and machinery, such as the 4 big propellers that they've attached to the bottom of it. But yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, there's no way I could have made this list without putting these gunships on it. They've appeared so many times in World of Warcraft ever since Wrath of the Lich King. They look really cool. Like, they're definitely some of the coolest ships in World of Warcraft. They've got so much cool engineering stuff with them, and they're just great. So that's why the Alliance and Horde gunships are number 6. 5. Number 5 is Fizzle and Pozic's Speed Barge, and Fizzle and Pozic's Speed Barge is a massive ship located in the Shimmering Deep in the Thousand Needles. And so with the flooding of the Shimmering Flats and the loss of the Mirage Raceway during the Cataclysm, Fizzle, Brass Bowls, and Pozic move their racing operations to this floating racetrack, and the remnants of the raceway are located on the lake bed beneath the ship. And I think my favorite part about this ship is how insane it is. Like, it truly is the construction of like Goblin and Gnome engineering mixed together. Like, you've got houses on top of the ship, you've got like watchtowers, you've got pipes, you've got fumes coming out of stuff, you've got so many different gizmos and gadgets, you got goblins and gnomes running around, you have the actual speed barge bar below the deck where Daisy, who used to be the race girl, is now the bartender, and there's just goblins and gnomes like always getting into bar fights and yelling at each other down there. It's just, this place is genuinely insane. But that's the reason I love it. It feels very Warcrafty, very goofy and wacky, and I think we need more of this type of stuff in the game, to be honest. And so that's why the Fizzle and Pozic Speed Barge is number 5. 4. Number 4 are the Blood Elf destroyers located in the new Silvermoon City, and these are really cool. This is one of the cool things that we got in the big Silvermoon upgrade, because all of the ships got upgraded that are right next to the city. And I love the shape of the armor of the ship, or whatever it might be. It's kind of like the figurehead, but I like how the actual head of the ship, like the Hawkstrider head, becomes the rest of the ship. Like, you can see it has like its neck, and then there's like 2 little arms on it, and then on the back there's the wings. It's almost like it's just straight up a Hawkstrider ship, and I just think that's really cool. But on top of all that, there's actually really cool little engravings on the Hawkstrider armor pieces, and then there's the red windows and doors, and then the rope and the big sail with the Horde symbol on it. In fact, you can see the sails just blowing in the wind, and it looks very natural, which, you know, that's probably something where somebody sees it and they're like, well, I hope the sails look natural blowing in the wind. But like, I don't know, I noticed those things and I'm like, yo, that's pretty cool. I like it. That's what this series is all about, noticing the little things. And that's one of the little things I noticed. And so that's why the Blood Elf destroyers are number 4. 3. Number 3 is the Vindicar, and the Vindicar is a spaceship created by the Draenei of the Exodar in order to return to their homeworld of Argus. And I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't the biggest fan of Argus. I also thought it was kind of annoying because you couldn't really fly here, and you still can't fly here, but I did always like the Vindicar, and I love this ship because it has so many cool details to it. In fact, I was curious as to how it was actually created, and so I found a post on the Warcraft lore Reddit where somebody said, I'm pretty sure they explained somewhat that they indeed cannibalized the Exodar to build the new ship. I think Blizzard did this intentionally to retcon the fact that the Exodar was supposed to be repaired and fully operational. And again, even though I wasn't a big fan of the Argus stuff, I always thought it was really cool that when you would go to Argus, you could look up and see the Vindicar kind of just, you know, floating above you in whichever Argus zone you went to. I always thought that was really cool because then you'd warp back up to it and go to a different one and warp down, and you'd look up and just see it up there again. And so I always thought that was really cool from an immersion perspective. And then when you were on the Vindicar, you also had these giant windows to be able to see out into Argus, which I thought was also pretty awesome. Or I guess I don't even know if they're windows. I think they're actually just part of the big crystal they use for this thing. I don't know how it works. It's Draenei spaceship magic, but well, I guess it would still be a window. It just wouldn't be made out of glass. It doesn't matter. That's why the Vindicar is number 3. 2. Number 2 are the Greasy Eel and the Gallywix Yacht, both located at the port at the Zaralor. However, you can find them at other places in the game, but I picked this one because they're both conveniently right here. And so starting with the Greasy Eel is a goblin submarine, which is a ship, I looked it up, that was used by Gazlo's grease monkeys to get to Mechagon. And Goblin submarine lore is already crazy. So it says here that the goblins stopped using giant turtles, which apparently they used giant turtles back in like Warcraft 2, and they would ride on the turtles and launch hazardous steam-driven canisters containing highly volatile liquids that could shred even the strongest armor at their enemies. But after that, in World of Warcraft and the Cataclysm, the Bilgewater Cartel funded a squid-like model that was created to tackle the dangers of Vaz'jir. So like I said, crazy goblin lore, but then we have the Gallywix Yacht. And if you've ever played through the Goblin starting area, this is the ship that you escape on when the volcano's erupting and then it crashes on the Lost Isles. But yeah, both of these ships are really cool and really unique, and I wanted to put them higher up on the list because, I don't know, I'm a big fan of Goblin stuff, right? And I really like the Goblin figurehead on this yacht. I like this Goblin squid-style submarine. I just think the Goblins have some fantastic engineering, and so that's why the Greasy Eel and the Gallywix Yacht are number 2. 1. And number 1 are the Gnomish submarines, and the Gnomish submarines are located in Uldum, and they are called the Pincer X2 and the Mac Diver. And you've heard me talk this whole video about how much I love Goblin engineering, but I don't know what it is. There's something about these Gnomish submarines that I just love. It almost feels like they're these big robotic fish. Like, that's kind of the vibe that I get from them. And even though we are in Uldum, these were created for Vaz'jir, apparently, but I actually think they look pretty cool in Uldum. And so we have the Pincer X2, which has the giant drill on the front of it, and then it's got some little, like, fins in the back and, like, a big fin flipper thing, and then it's got the eyes in the front. Well, they look like eyes, but they're actually lights. You see these beams of light coming out of them. Meanwhile, then we have the Mac Diver, which is a vehicle powered by a fusion core, which is controlled by a very sophisticated mainframe known as Wibson, and it says that the Mac Diver actually doubles as a crawler and a submarine, so it can do both. And so overall, I just love what the gnomes have done here. I think they made some really cool ships, really cool submarines, and that's why they're number 1. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of Pointless Top 10. If you want more Top 10s, you can watch Shipwrecks, since that obviously relates to this video, or you go watch Forgotten NPCs that still exist in World of Warcraft from last week. Also, consider liking the video and commenting below on your favorite ship in World of Warcraft. Okay? Okay. See you.